Hi everybody, welcome back to Main Mission Hope, and this might well be one of the most important videos that I make, well, for me anyway. Now, if you've been following my journey through these videos, you'll know that I'm on the road to full communion with the Roman Catholic Church in England. I'm English, and in a few months' time, at Easter 2026, hopefully I will be confirmed into the Roman Catholic Church. I'm going through the RCIA at the moment. However, throughout this process of kind of being awoken again to the idea of Christianity of several months ago, and then doing the research and deciding, well, actually, I think that if you're a student of history and a student of truth, you end up at the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church, but I think the Catholic Church is the one that I decided upon. But I've had this niggling question still about whether to become Catholic means that you're slightly less English. Now, I don't want to offend anybody by saying that, and it's probably because I've been influenced by what was left of hundreds and hundreds of years of anti-Catholic propaganda. But I couldn't quite help but feel that if you were Catholic and you owed your allegiance to the Pope, ultimately, in Italy and the Vatican, and not the King in England, that would make you slightly less English. And it's hard. It's been really hard to shrug that off. However, with some recent research I've been doing, I think I found the thing that has helped me to shrug that off and to fully embrace the idea that to be English is to be Catholic at the same time, and there's no conflict of interest there. And to be a patriotic Englishman is to be a good Catholic as well. So let's dive into this, and hopefully if you've got remaining thoughts about thinking, well, actually, if I want to be a Christian in England, how do I be a good Christian, and how do I still be a patriotic Englishman? What does that mean? Because I don't want to join the Church of England because of what it's become. I don't want to join an evangelical church because they don't they don't offer the sacraments. I know from reading the Bible that that's what I need. What do I do? Well, I'm here to kind of reassure you and hopefully inspire you that the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, is the way to do it. Right. So let's dive into a fascinating piece of English history today that ties directly into my faith journey. And if you're new to Christianity or returning after some time away, you might be wondering how your English heritage fits with Catholic devotion, especially to Mary, because as an ex-Protestant, I guess I'm still a Protestant until I get confirmed as a Catholic, the idea of Mary having such an important role to play in the church can be difficult. So what we're going to do, we're going to explore probably the most English of battles that there's ever been, which is the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, where King Henry V and his soldiers turned to Mary and the saints in a way that shows just how deeply Catholic faith was woven into the heart of English patriotism. Now, this isn't just the story of victory. It's a reminder that true English spirit has always included honouring Mary and Catholicism as part of the one church founded by Christ. So, let's set the scene. In 1415, England is fully Catholic, as was most of Europe, and devotion to Mary was a cornerstone of daily life and national identity. King Henry V, a devout Catholic, led an army of about 6,000 men against the French force, maybe numbering up to 30,000. They were tired from a long campaign, sick and low on supplies. But Henry didn't rely solely on military strategy. He turned to prayer. Historical accounts, like those from chroniclers such as Enguerrand de Montserrat, describe how Henry ordered his troops to pray and confess before battle, invoking God's help through the intercession of saints. And of course, this aligns with Catholic teachings on the communion of saints, where we ask holy figures like Mary to pray for us, as emphasised in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. The intercession of saints is their most exalted service to God's plan. Now let's talk about Henry's personal faith. As a king raised in the Catholic tradition, he attended Mass daily, and he even founded monasteries. Before Agincourt, he reportedly prayed fervently, asking for Mary's intercession. England had long been called, and this still blows my mind thinking about it now, Mary's Dowry, a title dating back to at least the 14th century and much, much earlier, symbolising the nation's consecration to her. So think about that. Did you know this? Listening to this video now, did you know that England is Mary's dowry? England and the people of England belong to Mary. And we're talking about the Virgin Mary here, you know, the Mother of God. And this wasn't mere superstition, it was rooted in Scripture, like the Annunciation in Luke, where Mary is hailed as full of grace. As a Mother of God, Mary's prayers are powerful because of her unique closeness to Christ, as the Church teaches in Lumen Gentium from Vatican II. For Henry and his men, turning to her was as natural as breathing and as English as the crown itself. Now, I just want to clarify a point there. I'm not saying that in the Bible it says that England is Mary's dowry. England was given to Mary by English kings. Richard II is the kind of the recorded one, but probably Edward the Confessor, you know, in the early 1000s, probably did something similar as well. But for this whole period, maybe even before that as well, English people considered England to be the dowry of Mary, belonging to Mary, which I think is absolutely amazing, and under her protection and under her intercession. Back to Agincourt. The battle began. The English archers and knights let out a cry that echoed their faith. According to oral traditions and later historical writings, like those preserved in Catholic sources from the period, Henry shouted, "To Our Lady for her dowry, St. George and St. Edward, to our aid." So Henry and his soldiers were calling out for the intercession of Mary, the intercession of St. George, and the intercession of St. Edward, the Confessor. This wasn't just a pep talk, it was a prayer invoking Mary as protector of England, her dowry, St. George, the dragon-slaying patron of England, and St. Edward the Confessor, a holy English king. They were all called upon too. And this battle cry proves how Catholic devotion was the backbone of English valour. You know, and it echoes Revelation 12:1, where a woman clothed with the sun, seen as Mary, stands against evil. The victory that followed against all odds was attributed, obviously, to excellent tactics and excellent soldiers, but also, you know, divine intervention through these prayers, reinforcing the Catholic belief that faith moves mountains, or in this case, defeats armies and the French. The English won a stunning victory, with French losses in the thousands while English casualties were minimal. Henry immediately ordered Te Deum sung in thanksgiving, establishing religious houses to pray for the dead. This event cemented that being English meant being Catholic, devoted to Christ through his church and his mother. For modern English Christians, like myself and perhaps yourself, especially those feeling torn between national pride and Catholic faith, Agincourt shows us that the most heroic Englishmen, they saw no conflict. In fact, their patriotism was fueled by it. The church, founded by Christ on Peter, was their spiritual home, and Mary's role as Queen of Heaven made her England's Queen too. Fast forward to Shakespeare's time and things change. In his play, Henry V, and we've probably all seen clips of the films as well, and we've definitely heard the speeches, which was written about 1599 during Queen Elizabeth I's reign, the Agincourt speech becomes the iconic St. Crispin's Day rally. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. It's stirring, but notice what's missing. Any mention of Mary or St. George in a prayerful way, or Catholic devotion. Why? Well, England had broken from Rome under Henry VIII, and by Elizabeth era, the Reformation was well on its way. Catholicism was outlawed and seen as treasonous. Shakespeare's play, performed for a Protestant audience, tones down or erases these elements to avoid censorship or offence. Historical scholars note this as evidence of how Catholic pride was suppressed, turning a faith-filled battle into a more secular tale. Yet the real history reminds us that true English heroism was Catholic at its core. So, if you're an English Catholic struggling to reconcile your nationality, your patriotism with your faith, look to Agincourt. These soldiers and their king, the epitome of English bravery, English knights, English men at arms, English yeoman archers, were devoted to Mary and the Catholic Church. It wasn't foreign, it wasn't unpatriotic, it was the essence of being English. In fact, drifting from that might be less true to our roots. And here's the beautiful truth. Take a look out of your window right now if you can. Look around. England is still Mary's dowry. That ancient title, given centuries ago, has never been taken away. No Protestant king or queen ever rescinded it. Mary is still England's protector and guide, watching over her special gift with a mother's love. And just as Henry and his men called on her in their hour of need, she calls on us now. The patriotic duty of every Englishman, then, is to defend and protect Mary and her dowry, England itself. How? Well, by returning to her son in the fullness of the Catholic faith, honouring her through prayer, the rosary, lives of virtue, and protecting England. This isn't just personal piety, it's a national renewal. As we live out our faith today, remember Mary's word in the Magnificat. God lifts the lowly. That hope transformed a desperate army into victors, and it can transform our lives, our families, and our country too. Thanks for joining me. Let's keep exploring our faith with enthusiasm. And I'll just add a few bits on the end. You probably heard me getting a little bit tearful there, because discovering this about the fact that England is Mary's dowry, but let me explain that a little bit more. So when we think of dowry now, we often think of a sum of money or wealth that is given from the bride's family to the bride, kind of, like a gift gone that way. So it goes from the female side to the male. However, in the first millennia, it was often done the other way, especially within nobles. So the idea is that during negotiations about the marriage, the bridegroom, so the man, would give the bride some money or some land. In the event that he dies, she's still got some way of having some wealth and not falling into destitution. So that's why it kind of goes that way. And learning that no other nation has claimed this. And lots of other nations, they do have particular Marian or Mary devotions. But England, the kings of England, and therefore the English themselves, gifted their country and their people to Mary. I think is mind-blowing, the fact that we didn't know this already. And the idea that at the Battle of Agincourt, Henry and his army, in the morning before the battle, they went to Mass, they took the Eucharist, they said some of the things that we still say today, and going into battle against unsurmountable odds, they would have been calling upon the intercession of Mary. The most English of Englishmen were Catholic and devoted to our Holy Mother. And I think that's amazing. I also want to say that I'm not dissing any Protestant heroes or Protestant patriotism at all in this video. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying, though, is that if you're thinking about being a Catholic or a Catholic and you think there is some conflict between being a patriotic Englishman and working to save England and protect England, by doing that, you're protecting the dowry of Mary. And that just, it makes me want to cry. It makes me so relieved. It makes me so happy. It makes me want to dive headfirst into Catholicism and English Catholicism in a way that, although I'd accepted and was doing, now it's just like the gloves are off. Give me my rosary. I belong to Mary, as you do as an English person. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you very much for watching. Forgive me my tears, and I'll speak to you again soon.